topic, I'm going to talk about usability testing as another usability evaluation technique. Usability testing is often done in a controlled environment using real users of the website. It's a one-on-one session, the idea being to review usability issues early and help recommend fixes to the design. Ultimately, the goal of usability testing is to help improve the interface. Now, I'm going to talk about the different levels of formality for usability testing. Imagine this is a timeline of your project, where that's the start of the project, that's the end of the project where the website goes live. And imagine this is the design phase of the project. So you would typically conduct a more of an informal usability test, such as usability walkthrough, early in the design phase. So your designs are not refined, you potentially have issues you want to resolve, and therefore you would do that early in the design phase. A formal usability test is often involving users at the end of the design phase. That's when the design has been solidified and you're there just to obtain feedback and provide a summary of the issues that you need to resolve before you hand over to developers. Now, it's really important to note that you don't actually have to do either informal or formal only in your project. The whole idea is that you can do both and iteratively do it throughout the design process. There are two other elements of usability testing it's worth you knowing about: moderated and unmoderated. So moderated is this idea where there's a facilitator in the room with the user. The facilitator is able to support the user, run them through the tasks they need to perform. They can also look at the user's body language, their mood, and have a discussion with the user if the user has issues. However, unmoderated is where there is no facilitator. It's often done remotely. For example, you might have a user in a different country, in a different region, or at home. The process is a lot more automated, so often involves using a system that tracks what the user is doing and capturing their mouse clicks. There's benefits and strengths to both. With moderated, obviously, the fact that there's a facilitator means you can't do as much. So you will reduce the number of facilitated or moderated usability tests that you would do. With unmoderated, it's automated, so you can actually do as many as you want. However, obviously there's cost involved because you would have more users to actually test and recruit, as well as the systems and tools you would have to use to record the session. Some practitioners call usability testing by its acronym UT. However, some people also call it user testing. Now, let me be very clear. You're not testing the user, so you're testing the system. So even though there's nothing actually wrong with calling it user testing, because it's easier to say, be conscious as to what the end audience will depict when you're calling it user testing. Some stakeholders often think you're actually testing the user. Be very clear with that. Also, there's another acronym, UAT, that's often used in the web design space. Now, user acceptance testing is different to usability testing. User acceptance testing is done by the business. It's basically a way of ensuring every feature that was spec'd or documented exists in the design. However, it's not about actual usability testing of the site itself. In this topic, we've talked about usability testing as yet another form of usability evaluation technique. Hopefully now you have a better understanding of when you would do it, the fact that there's informal and formal, and moderated and unmoderated, and some of the things you need to look out for when you're talking about the technique. In the next topic, I'll talk about what you actually need before you begin a usability test.